The Consulting Success podcast is powered by the Clarity Coaching Program. If you'd like to work directly with the Consulting Success team and receive personal coaching and support to optimize and grow your consulting business, marketing, and revenue, visit consultingsuccess.com to find out more and apply.
Welcome to the Consulting Success Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Zapersky. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into the world of elite consultants, where you'll learn the strategies, tactics, and mindset to grow a highly profitable and successful consulting business. Hey everyone, it's Michael Zapersky, and today I'm with Anne Sugar. Anne, welcome.
Thank you, Michael. I'm very excited to chat with you today.
Yes, we've already had a great start to the conversation about books and bookshelves and the ways that we organize our bookshelves. So I think that just really enjoyed that. But let's dive in because, Anne, you're a published author, you're an executive coach, a speaker, you run your own coaching consulting firm for about 15 years now. Your clients include TripAdvisor, GM, Delta, and many others. You're also an executive coach for the Harvard Business School and guest lecturer at prestigious universities like MIT, University of Pennsylvania. I want to get into all of that. But before we do, just kind of take us back to how you actually got into the world of coaching and consulting.
Sure.
Where did that begin for you?
Sure. So I grew up working in advertising agencies. So back in the 80s, I worked in New York City. I worked on the launch of the Apple computer. Yes, I'm dating myself, how old I am. The American Express corporate card. And just to kind of take a step back for a second, I guess I know that I have grown up working in teams, right? And understanding what teams look like. How do you sell? How do you sell to a client? How do you have a high functioning team? All of those things you learn when you work in advertising, right? And all of that at the end of the day really boils down to creativity and curiosity because it's really about the idea. So that kind of just as a starting point there in terms of what I've learned. But, and I worked in advertising for about 20 years. And at a certain point for me, I wanted to do something different, right? Working 60 plus hours a week, just an array of things. And the one thing and this gets back to when I think about teams and how I talked about creativity, the thing that made me the happiest was leading teams. And so I actually met with an executive coach. I wish I had had an executive coach when I was managing 75 people, in working through all of kind of the executive suite things that I was. But anyways, what it really came to find out was I wanted just to help people lead better. I wanted people to help them not make the mistakes that I made, because God knows I made some good ones, right? So I took the leap, and it's a very long story how I got there, but, I'm certified. I have all the, the credentials, all the assessments, blah, 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 blah. So I've been doing that now for about 15 years.
And quick question for you. So how long were you thinking about going off on your own, leaving the agency world before you actually took the leap?
That's a really interesting question. It took me a while. I did a lot of fits and starts, right? And even when, this is an interesting story, even when I said, I'm going to be an executive coach, I'm doing this, one last time, I went on an interview for a media director job here. And I had, I think she was 6 months at the time, a new baby. And I went on the interview and I thought, maybe I just go back into advertising. I love advertising. No, I love this. And I'm so overtired, right? And I hit my garage door with my car. And after this long day of interviews, like all long day, I'm like, I'm not this kind of, I'm not really into the whole universe thing, but I was like, oh boy, yeah, no. That was kind of like the watershed moment, for me when I hit my garage door.
What do you think held you back? Like, you haven't yet said really, I don't know, like, are we talking, was it 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? Like how long was it on your mind before you actually made the leap? Just to kind of clarify that.
I think if I'm looking back, it was probably like 6 to 8 months. It wasn't that long.
Okay. All right. So 6 to 8 months. And that's so from the time that you thought to yourself, I want to go out on my own. And then you actually made the leap. So it was about 8 months from the time that you had that thought to you hitting your garage door going, okay, somebody's telling me something here. Walk us through that. So when you made the decision to leave the corporate world and kind of, start doing coaching, consulting, so forth, what was the first thing that you did?
Well, I think, to the point, can I just raise one other point? Like,
Yeah, of
why was
course.
I being wishy-washy, right? Like, come on now. I think it's really hard when you've been, and now I would never go back, right? But it was really hard because let's think about it, for a second. I had a lot of infrastructure underneath me, right? From an admin to somebody who does my PowerPoint, just those little things. Actually, that was, that's a lot of infrastructure that's gone, right?
Yeah.
And what do I knew how to sell to clients from advertising. I knew how to market. I knew all of that. But when you really get to those brass tacks, right, it's very different, right? In terms of
100%.
marketing and business development.
Yeah.
So those were the things that kind of gave me pause.
Right. And so the question, I guess, that comes to me is, when you had that pause, what did you do to overcome it? I mean, I know you hit your garage door, but you don't hit your garage door going like, oh yeah, now I know how to sell my services and, price my fees and like all that kind of stuff. So what was it that actually made you, okay, let's do this? What gave you the confidence to go out and take that leap?
I think for some people, and I do this in coaching, right? There are some people who say, rip the Band-Aid off. And so we really go for it on something, right? Just rip the Band-Aid off and do it. Other people need to take small kind of baby steps, right? And have a specific plan, all of this. For me personally, I'm a rip the Band-Aid off type of person.
You're the burn the boats, no way to get back.
Burn the boats.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you know what? If it doesn't work, I go back into the corporate world, right? I can always be in advertising. I love advertising. I still coach people in advertising.
So what did you do? So you made the leap, and then what was the first thing that you did to now get out there and start winning clients?
So it was, for me, it was really a lot of baby steps. I, went back and got certified. I started telling people that that's what I did. And now this is the hard part. I didn't really I knew it intuitively, but I didn't really think about it. To change your brand, right? From me being in advertising to now an executive coach is a complete brand change. And I think I know you have to have a lot of patience because it takes a long time to change your brand. Just as, just as another aside, when people say to me, oh, you're published in Harvard Business Review, Forbes, Inc. There was a lot of micro steps for me to get to that point. Right. So I think when I talk to people just starting out or people 2 years in and they're really frustrated, you just have to have a lot of patience.
Right.
I believe.
And so as you're working through that, and I want to come back to kind of like, what did you first do? But when you encounter those feelings that are likely bubbling up, right? You're working through stuff. Maybe it's not coming together as quickly as you'd like. You're not seeing great results right away. So you need to have patience, as you said. What have you found helpful? Like, what's your mindset around that? What would you advise somebody to try and embrace or to look at or think about that would help them to get through those rough spots?
And I've really learned this from my husband and from other people. Take one step that you can control, right? So you cannot control whether you're going to close that client, but I can control that I can email 5 clients that, or 5 potential clients or 5 people I know. That's what I know I can do. It's control what I can control, right? I can't control a sale.
For sure. So that's really powerful. And oftentimes just taking that action, whatever it is, causes some positive result, which gives you more confidence, which then makes it easier to do more, right? So it's like this kind of network effect or self-fulfilling prophecy of you take one step and then it creates the next one and the next one. But so often people are just kind of paralyzed in fear, right? They're frozen because they're not sure what to do and they don't want to make a mistake. But really what you're saying is the importance of taking action.
And I think, Michael, you bring up such an important point in terms of making a mistake, right? That's a hard part that's a hard part from a consultant perspective, very different from when you're in corporate America, right? When it's your mistake, it is completely your mistake as a consultant, right? Or I didn't do this right, or I wrote an email to this person and it wasn't. I've written some bad emails, right, to potential clients. You do, right? Or you make a mistake, whatever it is. So I think that's Michael, I think that's a really important point you bring up, is just let the mistakes go. And I think also having kind of a network of people that you can talk to and moan and groan to, or, another executive coach, whatever that is.
Yeah. Having a community of people or something is definitely very
much better
important.
said. Yeah.
So let's go back. So you leave the advertising agency world. You now are kind of a certified coach, or you're working towards that. What do you first do? So you mentioned you email some people, kind of let them know what you're now doing. What would you say, looking back, was kind of the first, call it big break, or the first big client, or that initial experience or situation where you really felt like, yeah, this is going to work. Like this, I'm really feeling confident about this and about the future of my business. Do you remember what that was for you?
I know exactly what it was. And it happened because it was a referral. Referrals are so important in a consultancy landscape. Somebody that I worked with in advertising who was in HR said to somebody else in HR in a company, I think you should meet with Anne because I think she can help you with this. It was actually leadership development training. And I went in and I won it. And so when you win that first one, it gives you it's just kind of a multiplier effect somehow.
Right.
Not saying all the time, we have there are dips and ebbs, and, you try to smooth things out, but.
And how would you say that your approach to marketing your business has changed? So when you look at kind of that first phase, let's say first, few years of just kind of getting things going, and then to a place where now you feel there's some stability, and then you feel, okay, I've really, got to that next level of kind of expertise, authority status. What's actually changed? Like, is the type of marketing, the type of outreach, the methods, the tactics, has that changed then compared to now?
You know what? I think there's, in the beginning, I kind of call it guerrilla sales. It's like combat, right? It's like you're talking to one person. And now it's much more of a flattened kind of long-term, I just want to meet interesting people now, right? And that creates, business, or maybe it doesn't. And I interview somebody really interesting for Forbes, right?
Give me an example of that, and just to make it really tangible for people. Like, what were you doing in the early days? What was maybe one thing that worked really well for you in the early days to get clients? While we work with a lot of seasoned and experienced consultants here at Consulting Success, I'm often contacted by new early stage consultants. Invariably, the question I'm asked is, what are the steps I should take to become a successful consultant and grow my consulting business to my first 6 figures per year? Well, I'm excited to announce that we've opened the doors for our Momentum program. This is our most popular program for early stage consultants, and it has helped almost 1,000 consultants to start, run, and grow successful consulting businesses. It gives you the step-by-step plan to help you with your messaging, your fees, and pricing strategies, how to win more proposals, how to go to market more effectively, developing a marketing system to generate leads consistently, and so much more. And right now, until September the 19th, you can sign up for Momentum and get 50% off the regular price by going to consultingsuccess.com/audio. That's consultingsuccess.com/audio, AUDIO. Only 100 spots are available to join Momentum and get 50% off. This deal is only available until September the 19th, or until all 100 spots are gone. We won't be opening up new spots in this program for several months, so don't wait. Go to consultingsuccess.com/audio. That's consultingsuccess.com/audio, AUDIO.
Oh, that's really interesting. And let me try to think about this for a second. I did a lot more really reaching out to people that knew me, right? So that, because I changed my brand, right, I needed for people to remember my skill set and what I did in advertising and how that translated into being an executive coach.
Were you sending them an email and just saying, hey, like, been a while, hope you're well, here's now what I'm doing? Is that kind of the type of email, or was it something different?
That sort of thing. Okay. But also, and let's set up a meeting and talk, but I really believe there has to be something in it for the person, right? So I would sit there and think, okay, what leadership issue does this chief people officer have right now in their company? Okay, I'm going to send them 2 articles along with my conversation, because you got to get, part of all of this is giving something, right? And for me, it's giving knowledge or connecting people. Hey, you know what? A lot of it also is connecting people. You know what? I think you need to talk to this person over here. Or I know you're looking to hire this person. So even though it was like more guerrilla, kind of one-on-one guerrilla marketing sort of thing, it still was about what can I give people?
Hey, it's Michael here, and we'll be right back to the podcast. But first, are you ready to grow, scale, and take your consulting business and marketing to the next level? If so, our Clarity Coaching Program may be a great fit for you. You'll work with our experienced team to set up a strategic plan for your business and coach you step by step in areas like how to consistently attract more leads, develop a magnetic message that resonates with your ideal clients, strategically package and position your services, earn higher fees, win more proposals, and scale your business. To find out more about Clarity Coaching and apply, go to consultingsuccess.com and click on coaching.
How does that then compare to today? Are you doing less of that kind of outreach, or is there anything you're doing more of today that you weren't doing before that you find that works really well for getting clients?
Okay, so I still do that today, because that you can never stop that as a consultant, right? Like I kind of look at it, this sounds crazy, but I'm not equating myself to this, but if you think about movie stars, they're always looking for their next movie.
Sure.
Right? Like you've got to feed you've got to stoke the fire constantly. Right. I think what's different now, when I look at the landscape, right? Because now there's a tremendous amount of coaches, there's a tremendous amount of consultants. What do you do that makes you unique and stand out? Okay. So uniqueness for me is thought leadership. Because if I go back to my advertising days, it's really about what's my unique point of view? That's what clients wanted to know in advertising. Same thing now.
So is the focus now to create content that is unique, that is valuable for your ideal clients? Is your focus on publishing it yourself? Is the focus on getting it into publications that your ideal clients read? What's kind of the main focus in terms of where you see the greatest return on your time and investment? Like where are you getting the greatest overall result?
So that was kind of a fit and start sort of thing, right? So I first started out writing some stuff on my website. It would be like crickets, nobody. Then I started to write a little bit on LinkedIn, and I'm embarrassed when I go back and I read some of that. But anyway, now for me it's about a platform in pubs like Harvard Business Review and Forbes and Inc. So that's really where I focus and write. And it's 2 things. It's about having a unique point of view on something that, interests me, and also interviewing other interesting leaders that can help anybody, right? Like with, creating systems or whatever that is.
Right.
I think.
Well, good question for you on this. I mean, do you find that interviewing like leaders for your article or for the content you're creating, is that also a way for you to generate clients? Meaning that the people you interview are those people that actually would become clients, and that reaching out to them for the purpose of an interview actually creates the start of a conversation where they could then become a client? Or do you find that's typically not the case for you?
So for me, this is just my point of view. I keep it very broad. I do not, when I'm interviewing something, it is not me selling for them, selling to them. I really truly look at this as thought leadership. So I try to keep it at that. For me, it's relationship building too. It's relationship building and getting interesting content out. I know what my point was I wanted to make. When you bring up the topic of, a lot of people will say to you or say to me, write about what you do. So let's just make it up. I'll do some presentation skills stuff.
Sure. When
I write about that, I'm kind of like, really just write about what you're passionate about. I really am so sometimes things that I write about, it's just something very interesting, right? That interests me in the moment. I don't have an editorial calendar. I just write for that week. That might not be good either. People need to have an editorial calendar. I do not, but
it works for you, right?
It works for me. I guess that's my biggest point, Michael, is what works for you.
Right.
All of these things that we're talking about, right?
And how has your business changed over the years in terms of the services that you provide, the way that you offer them? Is there anything that you look back on going, yeah, I'm now doing, like, the way that I work with my clients is much more leveraged, or I used to offer something that just didn't really work very well? Any lessons that you would maybe say to somebody, hey, this is a shift that I made and it really helped me for the better, in terms of how you structure your offerings?
It's not so much about structuring my offerings, but it's about creating repeatable content that I can leverage, right? So repeatable content, like I have a framework, a strategic framework map of how to work with executive coaching clients, right? Or two, I do a lot of executive training, and I do very bespoke training. But also, I have a massive library now of things that I've written over the years that I can use that are repeatable. It's my content. So, I can use that as a training. So it's important to create bespoke, but I also think, what are the repeatable frameworks that you can use so that you're not recreating the wheel each time? I think it's really important.
It sounds like you're developing have developed a lot of intellectual property over the years that you're able to leverage for content, as well as for working with your clients. You mentioned, Anne, that you don't really use a content calendar. So to me, that sounds like it's a bit more organic or free flowing in how you approach content creation, yet you do write for different publications. How do you approach writing then? I mean, do you have, because oftentimes what I'll hear from consultants and clients is, yeah, Michael, I'm so busy delivering on a project that, or multiple projects, that I don't have time to work on my marketing. I don't have time to develop content. Any advice for those people who might be struggling to create content or to work on their marketing and business development because they're so busy just delivering on projects?
Oh, yes. There are times when I just don't have time to write, right? Or I don't have time to do marketing. So you just kind of have to live in that mess, right? I just had one of those for 3 weeks. I was so busy, you just live in that mess over there. That's okay. It's not a mess. It was great with the clients. But so it is very organic, but it's not, right? I don't have it in front of me, but I have this notebook, this Moleskine notebook. Whenever I think that's an interesting idea, I write that down in my notebook. So I have, I don't know, maybe right now 40 pages of interesting ideas. So I can just kind of flip through there and do it. I think the thing with writing or marketing or any of that is you just have to keep doing it. Like, for example, a year ago, so I just wrote an 800-word article today. Did it in a couple of hours. It's all done. Maybe a year and a half ago, I could not have done that 2 years ago, right? It's really just about repetition. And you know what? I got up at 7:00 this morning and just banged it out. And it took an hour. We all can find an hour because we're scrolling on TikTok. We're loving our email.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, it's interesting. Typically, the people who say, I don't have time, it's not that you don't have time, because we all have time, the same amount of time. And the question always is, how can one person accomplish significantly more, produce a lot more, develop a lot more in the same, 24 hours a day that others have? And most often, the person who's producing more is actually busier than the person who's producing less. It's all about how you use your time, how you structure it, whether you let, trying to be perfect hold you back from actually starting, or you just kind of get it done. I'm wondering, and you do one of your offerings is workshops. With COVID, right? The in-person workshop has kind of disappeared. And even when things do come back online, with COVID hopefully being in a much better place and kind of contained a lot more, who knows whether the in-person workshop will ever go back to the way that it was. How have you adjusted your business? What changes have you made that, even regardless again of what happens with COVID, you think, no, I'm sticking to this, or I've learned something that I think could really benefit my business and benefit my clients going forward?
Well, first of all, maybe this is just who I am. I really hope in-person comes back, because I think executive training, coaching you can do one-on-one, but when it's a group setting, it's, I get a lot more energy by doing it. it's not all about me, obviously, but I get a lot more energy when it's in person because we can all interact a little bit more. I definitely have done a lot of virtual leadership training. A couple of points that I, do's and don'ts that I would say.
Sure.
Nothing can be more than 90 minutes. If that means you've got to do it across a month, then you need to do it that way. I don't think that people can. We are all zoomed out. I had a CMO client say to me, I can't do one more Zoom. Can we just do coaching as a call, right? We have Zoom fatigue or Microsoft Meetings fatigue or whatever. I also think must prepare a lot more than what you have done in person. Because
why? Yeah, why? Tell me more.
Because this is from all the presenting I did in advertising. You have to give, this is just a stab in the dark, but I feel like I have to give 4 times the amount of energy to keep the room captivated when I'm presenting virtually. You have to it's even owning it more because you have, Joe over here who hasn't talked in a while, or you have to, and what I mean by preparation too is you have to have a lot more interesting stories. This is really you have to, by the end, you should be laying on the sofa because you're tired. You've spent the energy, right? Because that's what I believe Zoom leadership training is about right now. It is theater amped to, 100%.
Right. Talk to us a little bit about your experience of being an executive coach at the Harvard Business School. How did you land that gig?
It was through networking. So I work in the exec ed program where I work with senior leaders who come to the campus for 6 months or, to work on, it's not an MBA program, but it's an exec ed program. So it's very senior leaders. So it's coaching, it's assessments and all of that sort of thing.
Gotcha. So you just met through people that like a network, an event, someone said, hey, and you should meet this person. You'd be great at it. Boom, done.
Yes. Okay. All about this is just the end of the day, meeting interesting people.
Right. And how has that had any impact on your business directly? Like the people you meet through that program somehow become clients? Have you seen it help in terms of it's a good kind of quote unquote logo to add to your website and your repertoire to say, yeah, I'm executive coach here, and that kind of just adds some credibility? Any big benefit that you've seen from a business perspective?
I'll say that I'm going to take it in a different way. Having things like Forbes, Inc. and Harvard Business Review, yes, they give credibility, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're a consultant, how can you make it easy for somebody that when they sign on the line or you do the work, it's not a risk, right? Because everybody is afraid of a risk. I'm not saying that people are lazy. I'm just saying everybody's risk adverse, right? Yeah. If you're new in being a consultant, what are the kind of sound bites you can give that show people you have credibility?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the point on risk, I think, is such an important one because you're right. That's the number one reason why a buyer does not move forward is because they see too much risk. And it might be monetary risk. It might be time risk, right? In terms of them and their team have to be involved in a project. Right. It might be wondering, will this person really do what they say they're going to do? How will I look in the organization? And the bigger the project, right, the more likely they are to find reasons to delay or to hesitate or to want to think through things. So the more kind of credibility proof that you can put in front of them, certainly that can help. And also this is where the discovery offer, kind of like an entry level offer where someone can, for example, get going for $5,000 or $15,000 as opposed to $50,000 or $500,000 makes it easier, right? Because it reduces the risk. And I think the point you're making there, looking at what can you do from all different aspects to reduce the risk for that potential client and buyer will just improve your overall sales cycle and help you to engage with them sooner.
Right. And it could be as simple as if you're new starting out as a consultant or even now, right? Like for all of us speaking, let's say you spoke at this conference, right? Mm-hmm. That's credibility right there. You have to lead with that.
Yeah.
Like because you got selected to speak at that conference. Well, that's credibility.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be, I don't know, I've published my book with, Harvard Business Review Press or whatever. It can be, there's many different forms of it.
Yeah, and I think actually the point you're making there is a really good one, because I've seen this with a lot of the consultants and clients in our coaching program who have a great deal of experience and expertise, but oftentimes they're not leveraging it. Like they're not talking about that they gave a presentation or they've facilitated 10,000 hours of this, that, or the other, or, they've been in this unique position. And I think that's a really great reminder for everyone, listening, watching right now, that look at everything you've done, like take a full inventory of all of your accomplishments, your results, your outcomes, what you've been a part of, and look at how you can incorporate that into your website, into your LinkedIn profile, into your marketing materials, into telling your story. Because the more of that you do, as Anne is sharing here today, I mean that really lends itself to your credibility, your authority, and makes your message significantly more compelling. So I want to thank you, Anne, for coming on here today,
thank you,
sharing
Michael.
some of your insights and experiences. Where should people go to learn more about you and your work?
Absolutely. So if you go to AnneSugar.com, I have a list of articles you can sign up for and get these are the 6 articles that I typically give clients all the time. You can also reach me on my LinkedIn profile at Anne Sugar. I put out a lot of articles, a lot of ideas every week there as well.
Love it. Thanks so much, Anne. We'll make sure to link that up all in the show notes.
Thank you.
Thanks again so much for coming on.
Thank you, Michael. It's great speaking to you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Success Podcast. For more episodes and to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, head on over to iTunes. And if you'd like to develop consistent lead flow and a highly profitable consulting business, learn more about our coaching programs at consultingsuccess.com.